I made Crossy Road, but in my version of the game, there are guns. Let's say it changed the dynamics of the game a bit. And you know that eagle that appears when you're standing still for too long?
Say hello to my little friend!
Well, he's in for a bit of a surprise. Crossy Road was released back in 2014 and became a massive hit on the mobile markets. This week I decided to remake the game and put my own fun twist on it. The first thing I wanted to do was to make a temporary player moving around and get as close as possible to the original game's core mechanic. In the original game I believe there is some kind of jump buffer queue which makes it possible to tap really fast to sprint. To replicate this, my solution is to queue key presses in a vector for the script to remember every move and direction. And after modeling the bird, I also modeled some guns. I made a machine gun and a pistol, just to have something to play around with when creating the shooting mechanic. Okay, let's begin the fun. By adding colliders to each gun, I can now pick them up, and the gun activates the mouse input, but what's the use of a machine gun if birdie can't shoot? There are two possible ways here, I suppose, raycasts or projectiles. And after some research, it seemed that raycasting is the most straightforward solution. The way I did it was to add an empty object on the machine gun muzzle. From here I cast invisible laser beams every time player clicks the mouse button. In this way you can detect if the gun hits something when pointing and clicking the mouse button. And this of course looks quite boring. We need to add some visual effects and feedback to juice it up as much as possible. I started out by adding a muzzle flash particle effect and a simple hit effect at every point where the raycast beam is hitting a collider in the game. It starts to feel more juicy, but to help the player with the aiming I also added a tracer effect. This shows the player how the bullet would travel and gives a nice effect achieved by using a trail renderer. This is basically a visualization of the raycast and replacing the red crappy debug line. The last part to the shooting logic was to make the gun fire multiple bullets as you hold down the left mouse key. And for the final visual touch I created a recoil animation as well. Okay, one more thing is still missing. We need sounds for this to really pop. As usual, I'm getting all the sounds from the best website in the world, freesounds.org. The quality here are all over the place, but with a little bit of searching and tweaking you can always get something decent in the end. Okay, our player is ready to enter the green fields. I imported the models I made from Blender into Unity. Fields, roads, trees, rocks, more trees, and most important, the machine gun. I then started by making the trees destructible and added a falling leaves particle effect, and also a script on each tree to be able to count the bullet hits before the trees is destroyed. So if you aren't in the mode of jumping around the tree, you can move the tree and simply remove it from the ground. I'm not sure if trees usually explode like that, but in this game they do. Let's say this game is the opposite to that Mr. Beast Team Trees project. Okay, let's move on and make some car spawners and placing them on every lane of the roads. I then open up Blender once again to model some really simple car models. I gave them some nice colors and imported them into Unity. And now it really started to feel like Crossy Road. Just like with the trees, I also made the cars destructible. This was made with a car controller script, which first sets the car on fire and then eventually exploding the car when you reach a certain amount of bullet hits. Okay, now you may be thinking, that bird is way overpowered for this game. There's no challenge here. Well, let me introduce the black chicken. Just look at him, you can tell he's a really bad bird. The black chicken is also armed and appears on the brown pickup trucks, and they will immediately start shooting at you as soon as they enter the screen. Suddenly it became quite challenging, and now you have to use the trees for cover to avoid getting shot when the brown pickup trucks appear. I think we made an actual game here. So far so good, but the chicken's main protagonist is still missing. In Crossy Road, when standing and waiting for a bit too long or going backwards, a big eagle appears and you're done. But there are new rules now. Okay, let's jump into Blender and make the eagle. The eagle is quite powerful and you have to immediately start shooting at him when he appears on screen, else he will pick you up and it's game over. There are quite a lot of things still missing to be a real Crossy Road game, like the rivers with the floating logs, train tracks, pickup coins and so on. Let me know if you have any feedback on other things that could be fun to add. Maybe I'll finish it up and release it on itch.io.